Booyah! And it's time for the Game Sports Show, Season 2, Episode 6, presented by the Tap Room at Northern Superior. Delicious beer. It is Saturday, February the 26th. The reason why I bring up the date, because I want to bring up the time. It's 12:25 p.m. at the time of this recording specifically. And you know what? I do have an empty can of Northern Superior Brewery Company beer here and a glass of Northern Superior because it's a little early for me to have a pint today for some reason. So I am enjoying a coffee out of my, well, I guess you could say Mandalorian Grogu cup. It is absolutely awesome. If anyone's
Dave, no way. I'm using my Boba Fett coffee mug right now. That's so funny. You should say that.
That is awesome. Now, David McCaig here, and that lovely voice you heard, it's Alex Parr, and Dane Hancherow will be joining us as well. But I must encourage that if you are craving to have a delicious beer, some good food that you have an option to order to, which they support local, and just the overall atmosphere at the tap room is amazing. Wintertime, springtime, fall, winter, it doesn't matter. Summertime, it's amazing there at Northern Superior Brewing Company's on 50 Pym Street here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So if you're from out of town, if you're passing through town, make sure you mark that on your map to come and check out. That is the tap room at Northern Superior. And we have a big contest giveaway coming where we have a $100 cash giveaway and a $100 gift certificate giveaway to Northern Superior. The instructions of that are going to be connected to making sure that you follow the Game Sports Show, that you subscribe to the TGEM Network YouTube channel, and of course are following Northern Superior. And that will all be shared this week for you on all of our platforms that you'll be able to see. Now, speaking of TGEM Network, we've had some new podcasts uploaded on there. We have new podcasters coming on the TGEM Network within the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye on that. It's great content. You got sports, you got mental health. You're going to be talking about overall music. It's got all the categories that you desire in terms of podcast video content. And yes, a lot of the content is from individuals within Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, but we are and have expanded outside Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So if you are interested in doing a podcast, or if you have a podcast and you want it to be aired on another avenue of a channel outlet, just make sure you come to check out the TGEM Network and see if that's a fit for you, and reach out to yours truly through the Game Sports Show or the TGEM pages. Now, I said this is Top Shelf Season 2, Episode 6. We've done a little bit less episodes here with Top Shelf, and we did plan to have video content, but that is going to be pushed until March the 21st, which is conveniently trade deadline day. And no, we're not doing a live stream of the trade deadline day, not this year anyways. So I encourage you to check out our friend James Duffy, who is going to be on upcoming special edition upload show, just so everyone is aware of that little teaser. Make sure you watch them on trade deadline day. All right. It's like a holiday that you check out trade deadline on TSN. And I'm not taking anything away from Sportsnet as well, but obviously got to give some love there to James Duffy. And I want to make sure I threw in a little promotion from an upcoming special edition show that we have coming, along with Drew McIntyre, goalie legend of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, everyone that plays for Toronto, you're a legend. David McCaig, I said, I'm joined by Alex Parr and Hancherow. Let's bring them in. Alex, talking to you first. You were the lovely voice that came on first over Dane's. How are you doing, my friend?
I got excited. I like talking about Star Wars stuff. So,
well, yeah, I had to. You know what? We always have beers on the show and talk. You know, and last night we got into some EASHL action. I still consider the Game Sports Show a wagon. We've been a little bit cold the last couple weeks, and
don't play. No practice. No consistency.
No, we don't play as much as some other teams like Damage Inc. If you search them on the rankings, they played an absurd amount of games. Like, I don't know how those people do that. They must make money streaming, or hopefully they don't have to, that they don't work full-time jobs, because if they have full-time jobs to come do that, they have no time. But I wanted to sit here and just have a nice coffee for the show, and I want to just talk about my love for Grogu, man. And I love the Boba Fett show, Mandalorian. It's just fantastic. And Disney can send me a check at any time.
I'm sure they don't need us to advertise for them. I think they've got a pretty good thing going.
I think so. I think Disney has been around for a while, so it's good. Dane Hancherow, my friend, Oiler fan, legend, Sir James Dunn Eagle legend. I forget what number you wore for this. Was it 19?
I think I wore 11 in high school. I actually can't even remember.
Okay, 11. That's
a jersey around here somewhere, but I don't think 19 was available. We had some odd numbers. So yes, our French coach. Yeah, I don't know if it's what it is, but the numbers in the 20s from 30s, we had all those. but missing like 19. I don't know, a couple other, popular numbers, I guess. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of selection, but I think it is 11. But I honestly can't remember. It's been that long ago. So
You're 19 now, though, right?
I am 19. That's my go-to number. It just wasn't available when we played high school, which is
Last guy to join our team, and we still had 19 available.
Oh, that's an Yzerman number. That's a legendary number. Joe Sakic, Yzerman.
19 and 91.
Yeah, 91.
Yeah, well, the list goes on to famous players that have worn 19. It's arguably probably, if you want to rank numbers for players that have worn those numbers, I would say, 19 has to be up there, if not at the top.
I would have to say the best number of all time is 99. That will never be taken.
Oh, I mean, a cumulative between a bunch of players. Yes, 99 is not really disputable. It's obviously, it's retired and
one person. Now, did you wear a letter in high school too, Dane? Did you have a letter?
I did not. No, I did not.
I thought you did have a letter your last year.
I showed up late to the podcast. You think they're going to give him leadership abilities on a hockey team? Yeah, right.
Dane in his prime, man. The guy had a jury, did you have a jury curve? I think you were like, everyone had the Chris Jury curve, I believe. Maybe you didn't.
No, I switched it up. I had the sack it there for a bit, but you can't keep the puck down for that. So then I kind of went to like a Forsberg or Ginla, like Malkin kind of curve, which is just like a mid, just a very average kind of hockey curve, nothing funky going down.
Man, you got these names that we're talking about, Ginla, Sakic, and you look back and yes, if you're a Leaf fan, even Oilers had some success there making the Cup Finals, but we won't dive into that heartbreak for Dane because I think they would have won the Cup if Rolston wouldn't have got hurt. But those names, Sakic, Sundin, Gary Roberts, and I feel so like much older because now Crosby's 34, Malkin I believe is a year older, 35, Ovechkin's 35, and you got these guys that we watch. I remember coming into the league when they were 18, and all of a sudden you blink and the time has flown by, and you think talking Joe Sakic, Ginla, Gretzky. I saw Gretzky's last game as I sit here in the TGEM Gretzky corner with Gretzky pitchers invading behind me and a signed picture from Gretzky. Not a big deal. I thought I would just throw that out there. I really think that time is flying by too much. Now you look at these players that are coming up that are generational talents, right? You got McDavid, you got Matthews, Cale Makar. I know I'm forgetting just names because I'm talking out loud more. There's Leon Draisaitl, you got Kucherov, and you got these guys that are now taking over the league, and you just think and look back. And when you mentioned the Ginla and all that, I miss that. I miss that old time hockey a lot. Paul Correa, like it just makes me smile just thinking that we were around to be able to see those players, because that was the true evolution of the game of hockey, was when they were in the league before the 2009-10 change where the game just resorted to all speed, no hitting, which I want to get into something else. Maybe I'm going to try to get back and maybe we'll backtrack to this. I know we've talked about it before on the show. I believe it was a year and a half ago, but body contact getting taught at a later age now. I have more I want to vent about that, as now you have to be in the under it's not called midget anymore. So I want everyone to know that it's the under 17s or under 16s, that around that range that you're starting to do the body contact now. It's not novice or Adam that me and Dane would know. And if anyone knows what novice and Adam is, that means you are close to our age, because that changed about 5 years after we left it to start getting to different names. So what we're going to talk about here on Top Shelf today, we're going to get to a various amount of topic. We might have some Hart Trophy debate. We're going to circle back to that body contact thing that I mentioned, maybe some NHL trade deadline rumors if we can dive into that, some salary cap review, and about that is about maybe teams that are fixing the cap. We'll get into that, and then we plan to get into some of the outdoor game actions and about also what we feel about outdoor games. But I want to start with the Hart Trophy debate. It has been a conversation on numerous different either platforms. Okay, it's been a talk on the high-end medias, the TSNs, etc. It's been talked about on other podcast platforms, different shows. And everyone's saying that Austin Matthews shouldn't be not considered for a Hart Trophy. Cale Makar's come up. Obviously, you got Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid's obviously going to be in a chat, but maybe if Connor McDavid's getting the love, there's a guy that if he's getting love, does Nazem Kadri get some love? No, I don't think so. He wouldn't be a thought to get some love, but he's got close, I think, to the same amount of points as McDavid, as Kadri has 66 points from when I've last checked, and McDavid right now is at 73. So McDavid has pulled away. At one point, they were tied when the All-Star game was there. So you got to say the favorite players are Makar, Matthews, McDavid, Draisaitl.
It's Shesterkin. Shesterkin is by far the favorite right now. It's not even close. How do you not say his name first?
I was going by players, and I knew you would jump in anyways and say Shesterkin. Okay, and I want you to say his name because you say his name better than I do. Okay, I'll say Igor. You can say Shesterkin. Okay, there you go.
When I say Igor, you say Shesterkin.
There you go. I'll say Igor, and you can finish after that. That's how we'll go for the rest of the show. See how alert we are. Okay, I want to go and let you two take over this a little bit. You've heard my voice enough on this introduction, all this promotion, and all this me going back to the old times, seeing how much I miss the Ginlas and Sakic's of the league. Realize how I didn't really talk too much about Matt Sundin there. Yeah, that's how tough times the Leafs were since 05. But you have a Hart Trophy debate where I know, Dane, you're in the corner of a specific young defenseman. Alex, you're in the corner of a goaltender. You've already said that, who you think is the clear cut. And to be honest, yeah, I'm not going to not agree with Alex. I think that is close. But I think Austin Matthews deserves a lot of love for what he has done. But I'm not going to do anything until my last chime. I'm going to give the older person, that's Dane, just to remind you, if anyone knows, Dane is older than Alex. Dane gets to go first on his debate on who you think is the early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Well, I think you can make an argument for a lot of players right now. I think obviously Austin Matthews in Toronto is having an unbelievable year. Shesterkin, I mean, you look at his stat line right now, 940 save percentage, under 2 goals GEA right now.
Wow.
Those are pretty godly numbers. There is still a lot of hockey left to be played. And I mean, I've seen goalies have some pretty unbelievable seasons and not still win the Hart Trophy. So, I mean, it's going to really come down to the people that are voting for that. But I mean, yeah, he's 100% in the conversation. 2 other guys that I got, Cale Makar. He's looking to be the first defenseman to average a point per game since Brett Burns in the 2018-2019 season. Beyond that, he's looking to probably even maybe potentially hit 80 or I rather 90 points this year. He did miss a couple of games due to injury. He's on pace to have a 30-goal season. I could see him getting maybe even close into the mid 30s to high 30s if he really catches fire. But my guy who I actually have probably as the favorite right now is Jonathan Huberdeau, who doesn't get a whole lot of love playing down in Florida right now. He's currently at the top of the points list with 74 points, and he has 25 more points than the next player on his team. So if you really want to break down, the importance of, most valuable player to their team right now, and I understand that Florida is a wagon and they have a bunch of, all-star caliber players on their team. But I mean, the points speak for itself. And when you're, the first place team in the NHL and your top player has 25 more points than the next guy, it's kind of a hard stat to ignore. So, like I said, there's a bunch of people in the running right now. We still got, roughly 30 to 35 games left this season. So I think, it's whoever kind of catches fire late. And another guy you could even look at is Johnny Gaudreau's having a pretty unreal season in Calgary right now and is, leading that team in points. And obviously, Calgary's having a pretty terrific season. Just got pumped by Vancouver 7-1 after going on a 10-game win streak. But yeah, there's a handful of guys that are in contention for it. So I think the Hart race is going to be a little bit more exciting down the stretch this year than in years past, with McDavid and Draisaitl getting out to a 30-point lead to the next guy in the points race. So that's what I got. But yeah, Alex.
Yeah, I'm riding with Shesterkin. When you have 25 of your team's 33 wins, you're a pretty important part. I didn't know that about Jonathan Huberdeau, though, and I honestly haven't even heard him in the conversation.
Yes,
at all.
That's bad. That's
nothing got love, man. It's Florida, and he's had unreal seasons for the last 2 or 3 years where he's averaging a point per game, if not over a point per game. So I think last year he was on pace to have 100-point season, so which he's going to easily break this year.
See, that's where you look at Cale Makar, Alex. The guy is a point-a-game defenseman in his career. To the point, he's literally a point per game, 1.0 point per game defenseman. And this year, he's above a point a game. And unbelievable. The guy just signed a contract extension too, $54 million for 6 years. If you know the math, that's $9 million per season for Cale Makar. And that's a defenseman that I think is worth more. Okay. Like if he would have hit the market this year, he might be hitting $12 million or so, which would be absurd. But Cale Makar has been, I think it's easy for him to win the Norris. I feel like that is a hands down Norris winner this year, but MVP, I can't see him winning the MVP because you brought up Huberdeau, and I can't believe I forgot that. That is for sure a great point of somebody who is a heart and soul of the team. They have a good team though overall. Barkov, you can go down the list of the players that they have, but Huberdeau has really stepped up this year. He has to be in the conversation. Matthews is having a stellar year when the Leafs are looking like shit. Guess who steps up? It's Matthews. He's
Jason Spezza. Oh, yeah.
Right. Jason Spezza. Yeah, I love Spezza. I love Jason Spezza. But Igor, okay, I would say Igor. I really feel that Igor is definitely the Vezina winner this year. I think that's going to be very easy. But he has definitely been a heart and soul player of the Rangers this year. But is he him winning the Vezina, does that snub him from winning the Hart? And people have asked that. Do you think the NHL considers that they win another trophy? No, they don't. Crosby he won 4 trophies in 1 year. Okay, it does not matter what if they deserve it, they get it. And Igor,
well, if you're gonna win the Hart, I mean, as a goaltender, you have to win the Vezina. That just does not make any sense.
Exactly. And I had somebody ask me, and not going to throw names out there. Somebody that we know, and it's not a stupid question, but if you win the Vezina, that doesn't mean if you win the Hart. But if you win the Hart, that means you're gonna win the Vezina if you're a goalie that's winning the Hart. But I think the Vezina is an easy pick. Who's going to win that this year if things stay according to status quo? But honestly, I gotta say the top 4 are Matthews, Huberdeau, and Igor, and I would still throw McDavid in that Hart.
I've got the betting odds from Bet365 in front of me for the best player MVP.
Is it McDavid still number 1?
McDavid is the outright favorite. He's at plus 200. Matthews is third at plus 450. Ovi's second at plus 400. Draisaitl at plus 600. Huberdeau at plus 8. And Shesterkin at plus 1,200.
Again, speaking of somebody who stepped up when the team has had mad games, Ovechkin. The guy is still an animal. The guy has 32 goals. Okay, and he's not in the league lead anymore as Matthews took over that from Leon Draisaitl. I believe Matthews is 1 up on Leon right now, unless that's changed of recent night. But Crosby's still a guy who has 48 points in 41 games. He's not as dominant as McDavid has been, and I think Crosby's still kind of slowing down. He also had an injury this year. He's battled some injuries. So I think that's why there's a little bit of a difference in pace. But McDavid is still going to be the favorite. And I really feel that McDavid might win if he wins the points this year still. And if Edmonton gets into the playoffs and McDavid has the most points in the NHL, it's like, again, it's almost like that Vezina Hart conversation. It's sort of. You have somebody who's a big part of their team and the best player in their position in the league. And that's why I think McDavid is rightfully so the favorite, but I think Igor should be the favorite. And I even think Matthews and McDavid should have equal love because of their contribution to their team. But I know a lot of people are going to debate that. Maybe you do, Dane, because I know
I'm just thinking Jonathan Huberdeau at plus 800. I like them odds.
Yes.
I might be throwing down a couple bucks on that.
For anyone that doesn't gamble here, plus 800 means if you put $10 down, it pays out $90.
There you go. Thanks, Alex, because I was curious. No, I wasn't.
Oh, really? You're not a gambler?
No, I'm not. I know. I was just kidding. I'm not.
You're being sarcastic. I was trying to help out our viewers here that might not have a gambling degeneracy problem like we do, and you get on my case for it. Okay, I'll remember that.
No, I like it. I actually don't gamble. Fun fact. I want to start gambling, and there's been somebody that I've been connected with that I know that is doing pretty good at gambling actually, and he actually wants to start a podcast on the TGEM network. But we'll see if that teaser and leave it out there.
Oh, is it who I'm thinking?
You might know. I think you do know. You can message me and I'll let you know if you guess it right. But again, Hart Trophy, right down to the wire. All right. It's going to be great this year, but those odds, Dane, you're right. I might actually have to throw a couple bucks down. Maybe I'll throw $50 down on that.
I mean, look, I mean, Gary Bettman, I don't think it would break his heart if the Hart Trophy went down to Florida. I mean, that's just good for.
I don't think it would hurt him if it went to the Rangers.
Well, I mean, I just think, obviously growing the game down south, it's just something that would help a little bit. Having
a $10 bet on Shesterkin pays out $130.
I think I might be making bets on both of those. I think it's like almost in the bag that one of those two are going to win.
Oh, see that you heard it first.
Because, like, if you want to say that Matthews is having the year that he is, and he's having an unreal year, I think Johnny Gaudreau, the year that he's having in Calgary, and it kills me to say it, Matthews doesn't have a lag over Johnny Gaudreau in the MVP race. There's not a chance.
What if guy leads goal scoring? You're just no, Gaudreau's better. Come on.
Well,
come on.
I'm not saying
look at yourself in the mirror and tell me that Gaudreau's got a better chance than Matthews. Go to the mirror. Go tell that guy that, and you come back and tell me if you agree with him.
I'm just saying I think both of them are unlikely to win it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, more than likely.
I'm just saying that Johnny Gaudreau has just as good of a chance to win if right now in the season with where they're both at and what they've both done with their team and how good their teams are playing.
Gaudreau's at plus 3,300.
Well, I don't think he's going to win it because there's so many other guys in front of him that are having better seasons. But I'm saying him and Austin Matthews' seasons are similar into what they've done for their team and where their team is at in the season, both leading or both up there in the standings.
What if Huberdeau was in Toronto?
What if Huberdeau was in Toronto? I don't know. He would probably be a shitty player because the media would eat him up for having the wrong breakfast one day, and he only scored 2 points instead of 3, and they'd run him out of town like everybody else.
Having this type of season in Toronto is what I'm saying. Like if Matthews and Huberdeau played whatever on the same team and Huberdeau's in Toronto and having the same year that he's having,
you would turn on Sportsnet and it would literally just be like, well, we're rebranding to the Jonathan Huberdeau network. So
exactly, that's what you hear all this about Matthews, right? If Huberdeau was on Toronto and he was playing with Matthews and Marner or Tavares Nylander, which Tavares Nylander have been.
Yeah, that Barkov guy's a bum. Who would want to play with him?
Yeah, Barkov's unbelievable. Sasha Barkov's amazing. But you have I think he'd be penalized a little bit in voting if because he played or playing with Matthews and Tavares. Barkov is better than Tavares is right now.
What do you mean? Toronto's perfectly the same as everybody else, When Michael Bunting dives, he gets fined for it in a perfectly normal, good call way. Nothing's different. If you play in Toronto, nothing's different than if you were to play anywhere else.
I think that Dane brought up a good point where the love in Florida is not there, and that's why if Huberdeau was anywhere else, it could be Toronto, it could be Calgary.
Season 2, so
you're
Johnny Gaudreau's playing two-way hockey here. Oh, what's happening?
There you go.
You're lagging on us.
I'm back.
A little lag. It's fine.
What about Johnny Gaudreau?
I'm just saying he's plus 40 this year on the season. So, I mean,
plus 40.
Say what you want about the plus minus stat. It reflects his two-way game, the season too. So, something to be
if you're leading a stat, it says something.
And it's also, I believe, a contract year for him. So, you know how it goes.
They try for one season, go get a big contract in a nice warm place, kick the feet up, and cruise the rest of the way.
He's an unrestricted free agent this summer, but will he stay in Calgary or will Philadelphia pull out the $9 to $10 million contract for Johnny Gaudreau? I'll start that rumor. I think he's going to go to Philadelphia. But
Philadelphia is a dumpster fire. They need something right now. I don't know what happened to that team. 2 years ago, they were potential Stanley Cup. Not favorites, but in the running.
Contenders, they were there.
Yeah, now they're not even that team.
And then they got Rasmus Ristolainen to fix all their problems, and he fucking sucks. And
they turn it. to turn into Buffalo. You know, you think you have all these good, like some good players, where Buffalo really doesn't. But when they brought in Skinner and they brought in Okposo at the time, who was having a hot time with Tavares at the time in Long Island before he went to Buffalo, you really thought that team was going to start turning around at those points when they brought those players in. You draft Eichel, and now you got Dylan Cousins. I'm a fan of Cousins. You have Rasmus Dahlin, and I'm a big fan of Dahlin too. They have good players in place there, but they just can't. It does never work. It just never works. It's like that Gordon Ramsay commercial with Tide, where he says that will never work. That is exactly what I'm saying. They bring in a guy, they bring in somebody, and someone's like, yeah, this is great. You got that girl that's like the Steve Dangle of Toronto for Buffalo. Here I am just promoting so many other people right now. But you have that girl, I forget her name, Buffalo. She gets all excited about the players they signed, and then she's singing in her guitar as the season goes on, depressing songs, because Buffalo is an absolute shit show. Okay. And I'm sorry, another team's a shit show that's worse than Buffalo is Arizona. Okay. I brought up a good point. This arena that they have is fucking embarrassing. I'm sorry. They've talked about it on a lot of other outlets as well, where there's, I don't know, over 100+ rinks in the world. There's more than that even, that are bigger than their new the Sun Devil Stadium that they're going into. Okay. And I know why they're moving there. I know the location. I understand they want to try to get fans, make it look bigger, louder. I understand the philosophy behind it, but Arizona is the absolute worst. And I'm sorry to anyone who's a Coyote fan, but that organization,
well,
absolute shit show. I am sorry. I am so sorry. It is. It's a shit show.
Okay, but I guarantee you're interested in watching their season opener now, where you never would have been before, because I want to watch that. I want to watch 3 people, packed barn, ready to go, and just watch the chaos ensue. Tell me that's not interesting.
No, not anymore. Now that you said that you think I'm going to watch it because you think it's a marketing grasp, I'm not going to watch their home opener.
It's not really a marketing grab. I just like watching chaos. Like, I mean, you know, like if you're watching something really cringy, but you're kind of like looking through your fingers, like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this, but I kind of want to see what happens. Yeah, that's kind of how it is.
I think over like that's like the smallest stadium that an NHL team has used since, I believe, the Tampa Bay Lightning, when they had their inaugural season. They were in like a barn that only had 10,000. And then Ottawa, I think, even played in a smaller arena when they first came into the league. So, yeah, sad times for the NHL with the Arizona Coyotes. I don't know what's up with Gary and his unwillingness to move this team, which just seems like it just isn't going to work where they are. And we've been going, through all this shit for, like 20 years, it seems like now. And so it's an interesting move. I can't really wrap my head around it. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe it'll be, a rocking barn, 5,000 seats, whatever it is. And we'll have a nice, crazy atmosphere. I don't know.
If Dane Wright goes there, his career's done. If he gets drafted first overall there, Arizona should I don't care if they're in Sun Devil, they're going to sell out. Hopefully, if they don't sell a 5,000 seat stadium, that's bad. Okay. No, I got local teams here in Sault Ste. Marie deserving, because they're good teams. The Hounds, you got the Thunderbirds, the Eagles. People don't know what that is in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. You can search them. They get the Eagles across river, which is a tier 2 junior team. They get about 1,000 a night, 500 to 1,000 a night. The Hounds, when they're playing, especially as good as they are, when we get to full capacity, they're going to sell out, which is 48, 90, something like that here at the GFL. The Thunderbirds, they only get a couple hundred because they're at the John Rhodes. If they were playing at the GFL itself, I believe they can probably get 500 to 1,000 as well, because how good that team is. So you can just gauge that, where I can even recall playing in North Bay against the Skyhawks, and they had 3,500 in that arena. Okay. Like 5,000 people is a lot. It can get loud depending on the size of the barn. Okay. But an NHL team, that's my point, should not have that. And if Shane Wright goes there, I'm telling you, if Arizona was smart, they wouldn't let him play there next year. I know people can say, oh, that's crazy because tickets, right? I know that will never happen, because they will keep Shane Wright there just for all the money side of things, but it will hinder his development in such a massive way because of how bad that team is. I am sorry. Clayton Keller is not going to be a good line mate for Shane Wright in his first year. You got to do what Buffalo did. You send Owen Power back to school and play off his year there. I love Owen Power. I think the kid's going to be a stud, but you got to do the same thing to Shane Wright. You send him back And you,
I don't think I agree with you, Dave. I don't think Shane Wright comes into the NHL next year and has, an Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid-esque, averaging almost a point per game kind of season. I see him probably struggling, kind of like Lafreniere is.
yes,
Jack Hughes is taking a couple years to kind of figure himself out, but obviously was an all-star this year and is having a pretty good season on still a pretty bad New Jersey team. So the NHL readiness, and I mean, I haven't watched a ton of Shane Wright, obviously, U18s and the World Juniors, and a couple Kingston games when you can catch them on Sportsnet. But
yeah, I mean, it's crazy the president that Matthews and all of these rookies that are just like generational talents have set for everybody else. Like, oh my God, this 18-year-old that just turned 18 2 months ago can't compete against all these grown men in a professional atmosphere. Oh, bust. Guy sucks. Like, not everybody's going to be Matthews or McDavid.
No, that's the thing. It's not gonna work in Arizona for him if he goes there. It's gonna hinder his development in such a bad way. Arizona should send him back. Hopefully they get the first overall pick the next year and get Bedard, and then you're starting somewhere. Okay, or Michkov, top two there. Either way, whatever way you want to go. But what happens if Arizona doesn't get the first overall pick this year? What if it goes to Montreal? What if it goes to Buffalo, or somebody else wins the draft lottery was like 11th?
I think, do you really even want to win this year's draft lottery? I think there's a lot of uncertainty, I mean, in the whole draft, but
yes, I want Shane Wright. That is a pretty calculated guess that he will be okay.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's automatic that Shane Wright ends up being the best player in this draft by a long shot.
And actually the last place team in the league right now. They're projected favorites. Okay, but you got a team like Winnipeg, Vancouver. Well, you can only move up a certain amount of spots. It might not be a good idea. I'll use Detroit and San Jose as options. Right now,
was the draft in Montreal this year?
It was, yes, as long as I remember. But you got Arizona has a lot of firsts this year, by the way. But anyway, Detroit, San Jose, 11th and 10th projected right now. Like if there was no lottery and it was the old format, San Jose would have 10th, Detroit would have 11th. What if Detroit wins the lottery and moves up and gets right? What if San Jose wins and moves up spots and Arizona moves down to 4? Now all of a sudden this team just has got fucking not worse because you're going to be able to draft Matthew Savoy or Yuri Savosky or Brad Lambert. There's guys, but it's not Shane Wright. And Logan Cooley's pretty good as well, the U.S. National Development Program. But Shane Wright's the guy you want in this draft. If you want to win this draft lottery, you want to win that first overall pick. Okay. And if you don't get that in Arizona this year or next year, because you're not going to be good this year, obviously, and next year you're not going to be any better. Okay, unless you go out and sign 25 free agents that are discount prices that come in and do what Michael Bunting's doing in Toronto, a full 4 lines of players, you're not going to be good. So you're not going to be that good next year. So hopefully you can get Wright and Bedard. But what if you don't get either one? And you don't even get Michkov next year. This team's going to be worse off. Yes, they have 2 picks again where they might get Noah Ostlund or Elias Samuelsson, which is in the projected mock drafts. A lot of people don't know who those guys are. They play over in Sweden. They're pretty good, but they're not going to be ready in the NHL for another 3 to 5 years. So Arizona is just going to suck for another 3 to 5 years? No, they better win the lottery this year or next if they want any hope in saving this franchise. If they don't get a Wright, Bedard, or Michkov, and back-to-back drafts, right, than one of the other 2 respectively, they are not going to be better. And this team has to look at moving locations because no player is going to want to go play there. And any player that does, especially that's a rookie, is going to have all the hindering of development unless they get all these sick prospects and they play in the minors and they do what Detroit did with Grand Rapids and win, and then come up eventually. But that's a handful of years down the road. And Arizona can't keep going through these financial issues in the National Hockey League if they want to plan to make money. The owners, the players are going to start to get mad.
Yes.
It's a joke. It's a fucking joke. It is a fucking joke, that organization. I am sorry. People are going to maybe comment, reach out me and say that's rude to say about Arizona. I really don't care. The team is a joke.
I got a couple things to note. Edmonton Oilers up 1-0 against the Florida Panthers. Other things to note. Arizona did lose their first round draft pick last year, their 11th overall draft pick. So that already hurts them. And also the London Knights Arena, the Budweiser Gardens, is double the capacity of the Arizona Coyotes new rink. So that's a OHL team versus an NHL team. So just to put things in perspective.
I can't. Okay, on to the next topic, unless Alex, you have anything to add there, but I think we said a lot of peace about Arizona. It's supposed to be a quicker topic. Next topic we'll get into. I want to talk about the salary cap review. Before I get into that, make sure I give an extra love here to Northern Superior Brewing Company, the tap room at Northern Superior. Myself and Dane are actually going to be there tonight for a brief little visit. Alex, you're more than welcome to stop by there as well if you'd like. We're going there to celebrate a friend's birthday. Shout out to a delayed birthday to a friend of ours, Anthony Greco, turned 30 years old. No, not the NHL player or AHL player, Anthony Greco. They have the same name, but I'm going to make sure that, especially with this upload, because it's a surprise birthday, unless you're hearing this right off the spot, it won't be uploaded until right before we go, because I don't want Anthony to listen and hear that now that I say it. Jesus, I'm an idiot sometimes. But we're going there tonight to enjoy a time at Northern Superior. So you can see us there. And you can also watch the game tonight. It's a lot of hockey going on in the NHL today. The Leafs are playing the Red Wings too. So there's a lot of games that you can watch, and they'll be all on at Northern Superior inside the tap room at Northern Superior. And as I said, I'm sitting here. My coffee's empty now, but I have my nice Hound Town. Oh, this is their best beer right now. No offense. All their beers are delicious, but this is my favorite beer that they have right now. It's great. So a little love to Northern Spirit, and more love to them. Give them a like, give them a follow, whatever you can on social media. They are very active on there, and it's just a great atmosphere to be a part of. Salary cap review. Okay. Last year, Tampa Bay goes to the Cup Finals, $18 million over the cap. Kucherov's an absolute stud on the media, just sitting back, having a beer, not giving a flying fuck what anybody says. Yes, and if you have children around, cover their ears when we're talking, because we like to swear a good chunk on the show. You have Kucherov and the Tampa Bay Lightning layout, where they brought in David Savard from Columbus. They brought in some guys, and they win the Stanley Cup last year. Okay, and I remember when Montreal got the first win, and I remember Kucherov sitting in a press conference again, being a stud, being like, "Oh, it's like they won the Stanley Cup when they won the first game against us, right?" So much beaking from Kucherov, but the $18 million over the cap. Now let's backtrack to fast forward, to this year. Vegas, Mark Stone, back injury. Listen, I'm not saying that he doesn't have a back injury. He probably does. Okay, because I know there's some clearance for doctors and sign-offs that you need for that. Kind of a coincidence, okay, that he gets injured the time Jack Eichel comes back, though, right? It looks really fishy. But it's not against the rules to not do what Vegas has done. Just like Toronto. Now going to most recently, Muzzin is on LTIR. That frees up about $6 million in cap space. If Toronto, for example, traded Justin Hall, which I imagine a lot of Leaf fans are wishing, except last year he was great. This year, as soon as he turns bad, I chirp the guy like he's Jake Gardner. So the guy is gone. If he leaves, that's $8 million in cap space all of a sudden that you have. Okay, and the movements that you can make at the deadline are just boom. Okay, so the salary cap review overall, and Alex, I'm going to go to you first, because I know your point's probably a bit more brief than Dane and mine would be, but you have teams that have found a way around the cap. Vegas, Toronto, sort of. Muzzin's a legit injury, okay? That guy has had a concussion this year, and he got fucking leveled against Montreal when Weidman hit him. He hit his head off the ice. The guy has a concussion. Okay, I know I've actually met Muzzin before, but I know a guy who's close to him. I know that he is legit hurt, okay? So Muzzin is out. The Stone, I have question marks about, say, oh, my back hurts now, and he goes on LTIR. So that's a legit reason to be hurt. But do you think the league will be reviewing something at the end of this year, Alex, to ensure that there is no Tampa Bay formula or potential Toronto Vegas formulas for future playoffs?
If they weren't going to do it last year, why would they do it this year? They're not going to do it last year for, what was it, $11 million? They're not going to do it this year for Jake Muzzin. So, no, they're not going to change it.
Dane.
I mean, it comes down to what the owners want. I don't think, Gary Bettman just sets to make that call all on his own. So from what I can remember, the Tampa Bay Lightning were the only team to not want that to be a rule, and then ended up actually taking advantage of it, which is, ironic in itself. I think there should be maybe a limit on how much you can, put on your cap in the playoffs. I mean, having, a guy that makes $10 million and then having him, sit out probably longer than he needs to, just so you can bring him back and be $10 million over the cap is a little shady, in my opinion. So maybe if they limit it to, maybe $5 million, so you like at least have a little bit of wiggle room if you do, get a couple injuries come playoff time. But I think Alex is kind of right when he says it's unlikely that I think that rule will change unless teams start complaining, right? So obviously it's affected Tampa in a pretty good way, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Vegas, obviously, with Mark Stone being out, is going to be doing the same thing with, their crazy cap issues. And I get it, especially with Vegas, if you can keep that team together, I mean, that's a pretty strong team once Mark Stone gets back. But also incredibly big loss for that team. I know, you're getting Jack Eichel in the lineup now, but Mark Stone's their captain, their leader, and their best hockey player. So that's not exactly an easy thing to overcome for the next, 35 games of the season. In Toronto, the same thing. I mean, Jake Muzzin is, your top shutdown defenseman, and I know he's kind of had an up and down season this year, but it makes Toronto, I think, at least defensively, and obviously the issues they've been having defensively are, they're out there. The fans know, right? Goaltending, defense, last 15 games haven't been great for the Leafs, and losing Muzzin's not going to help that either. So Toronto obviously will be looking to probably add a top 4 defenseman at the deadline. Again, those are not the easiest to come by either. And Kyle Dubas says he's not willing to trade his first round pick for a rental after what happened with the Foligno thing 2 seasons ago. So we'll see what happens and see, what it's going to take to get a guy like that, right? So there hasn't been any trades for a defenseman like that, like a top 4 that they're looking for at this point. So we really don't know what the market's set at right now. So I think, obviously in the upcoming, week or two, I think we'll start seeing a couple more trades before the deadline actually happens and see what the market is. But as far as that rule goes, I think until teams start getting pissed about it and getting, maybe jealous of, the Vegases and the Tampas about, kind of taking advantage of that rule, I think it's here to stay for the time being.
And that's a good segue for a trade deadline. I'll say quickly with the cap. I think there's going to be a review next year, but it may not be changed. The review will be known, and then there'll be something that will say, well, hey, what if something happens like a Muzzin issue where it was a legit scary injury? Not saying Mark Stone's isn't, but there's not a lot of gameplay proof. There's not a lot of like visual proof, which is actually a big thing when it comes to these meetings. Okay, why are you arguing this? Well, we can't use Mark Stone because not evidence of proven hit except medical documentation, right? Okay, Muzzin, boom, got hit. Here's the play. Boom, here's the MRI. Boom, here's this to segue up where we actually needed that. So they might say, okay, well, that's why you need to say $5 million. Maybe there's a little bit of a cap, or maybe there's just more thorough investigations for certainty of injury. And yes, I am doubting it a little bit with Vegas, just a wee bit, which means I shouldn't be doubting doctors because I ain't one by far. I may think in my head that I am, but I'm not. And I really think they'll look at it at the end of the year. But it's a good segue into the trade deadline. And you look at the trade bait board for all the different places. You can go down the list from 1 to 50 or 1 to 100. There's a lot of players that are rumored on this list. Okay. Like might be we always say this every year. It's going to be a big trade deadline. And sometimes we're disappointed, but I feel like this year there's going to be no disappointment. I think it's going to be a very active deadline. But what I'll say about the deadline is I don't think people are going to wait till the last day to do these trades. I think some of these rental players, known as, the Claude Giroux, the Mark Giordano's, maybe the John Klingbergs, those are the type of guys that I think you might see on the last day get moved because teams are going to try to optimize their value as teams get desperate. But the players with term like Jacob Chikrin, that would be one guy that probably would be somebody that's going to happen a bit before. And kind of looking at the list, there's not too much people with term as left, but there are a few, such as Jeff Petrie, who's been linked to the Philadelphia Flyers, which I think makes no sense because I think Philadelphia should be looking at different things. Other than that, Connor Garland, a guy who's new to Vancouver, 4 years left on his contract. Like those are the type of terms that you might see be something done quick or a bit earlier. And same with Brandon Hagel from Chicago, who just recently got a hat trick. I still don't think he's worth a first round pick, just so anybody knows. And you guys can feel free to disagree with me after that. But the players on the list like Chikrin, Sherratt, You have Giroux, Hurdle, Klingberg, Giordano, Braun, Gorgiev. Colin Miller is somebody, Sioux native and friend of the show, that, has been linked to Toronto, given, yes, he's a former Hound. So, of course, and everyone's linked to Toronto on this list, apparently. And, of course, you got Zaka, Domi, and Kessel, Fleury, just to name a few extra ones. Gorgiev is one that's really interesting to me. He's an RFA this year. I think Edmonton would be a great fit for Gorgiev. I've also said Fleury, but I know Dane disagrees with that to a full extent. But, again, it's a trade deadline I think to be very active. I want to go around to you for one player that you think is going to be moved and where they are going. Out of the players I've listed, if you guys want to take a second to look at different trade bait boards through the other media outlets that have been released. We haven't released a trade bait board. Maybe we're going to in the very near future. But I want to go to you first, Alex. Out of the players that I've named, exception of Colin Miller, because I think I've already said where I think he's going to go. But name one player.
Did you mention JT Miller?
I did not. Thank you for that reminder. I should have. He is actually 27th on the trade board if you're looking at TSN. So he's a bit down the list, which blows my mind. But
I want to know why all these articles are coming out about him being worth a top prospect, a mid-tier prospect, a first-round pick, a firstborn child, a second-round pick, your car. He's a really good player, consistently an awesome player. I just don't see a world where he's worth that much money. I mean, no. Vancouver's middle of the pack, they're just above 500, I believe. So I can imagine that they probably want to get the most out of him and write the season off. I'd say he's probably the most likely guy in my eyes to trade. I just don't think it's going to be even close to what all of these articles and reports coming out early are worth.
So if you had to say one person, who would you pick and where would they go? Alex.
I hate the JT Miller to Leafs rumors. I think that's dumb as hell. I'd say I'm really intrigued to see if the Leafs can kick any tires on Mark Giordano.
Okay, so you think Mark Giordano to Toronto?
I don't think, but I think that'd be pretty interesting. I'm not in the head of any of these GMs. That's why they're doing the jobs that I'm not in. But yeah, if I had to, I'll say that then.
Dane.
I'll go back to JT Miller. I don't think he is going to get traded. Vancouver's still well in the playoff hunt. And JT Miller's been a point per game guy over the last 3 seasons. So I can kind of see where, Vancouver would want, a king's ransom to move him. And I believe he still has term on a contract. I could be wrong, but he's not a UFA.
Yeah, he's
if he's not a UFA, then he's worth a little bit more.
1 year left on his deal.
Beyond
after this year?
Beyond this one, right?
He has 1 more year. It says on the board.
Well, that would, if it says 1 year left, that's this year.
No, because the other ones say UFA or RFA, for example.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
John Klingberg's a UFA this year. So this year he's UFA, but Miller has 1 more year left. So he's a free agent in 2023.
I mean, $5.25 million for 30 games and a playoff run, and plus next season that's
pretty good. Never mind.
I mean, yeah.
I thought it was UFA.
I just don't see Vancouver's willingness to trade him unless he wants out of Vancouver. But I really do think Claude Giroux is going to get out of Philadelphia. I think he needs a couple more games to play his 1,000th game as a Flyer. But that's still well before the trade deadline. So I think he finishes out his career, I think he finishes out playing his 1,000th game with Philadelphia and is moved. And I mean, I don't know how Colorado makes it work, but that's the rumor mill. Joe Sackett's a smart guy, and I think they somehow make it work, and they got Claude Giroux in Colorado. So I really don't know how they do it, but I think, Colorado's all in. They got a couple really good teams that they have to beat in the West just to get to the Cup final. And then, anywhere from Florida, Toronto, Pittsburgh, Washington, Tampa, who knows, Carolina, who knows who's going to be in the Cup finals in the East. I mean, the East is incredibly strong this year. So I'll go with Claude Giroux to Colorado, I guess, will be my choice for that. I also really think that Jacob Chikarin's tenure in Arizona is going to be over pretty soon here. I don't think he has any desire to play for that team anymore. and after having an unbelievably good season last year, he's clearly struggling. Only 11 points in 39 games. He's probably minus 100 on that team right now. So I think, a change of scenery would be good for Chychrun. And I think, Arizona kind of needs to go through another mini rebuild here and get some prospects. And I think Phil Kessel is also another guy that's going to get the hell out of Arizona, which is, guy's been a playoff, stud when he's been in the playoffs with Pittsburgh. I think he probably should have won the Conn Smythe the one season. Crosby ended up getting it instead. So that's just another piece for a team that is looking for some scoring depth for the playoff run. So yeah, I would say I think Montreal and Arizona will be quite active at the trade deadline, shipping players out for prospects and picks.
I like all that, and I wish I can go give a full review of where I think all of us are going to go. I think we'll table that for another show. You mentioned Chychrun. I've linked the Kings to Chychrun. I think that makes sense. I'd love for Toronto to get all these guys, but that's Toronto, me, and maybe Edmonton, you. But I think Chychrun is a very, very, very attractive someone to bring.
Edmonton needs a fucking goalie, and I don't care who it is at this point.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Sure.
3 years, 4 points. Top hit for Chychrun.
Well, I'm thinking Kubalik's not having a great season in Chicago right now. No. I think with the addition of Vander Kane, that kind of makes Zach Kassian a little bit more expendable. Kubalik, Kassian make about the same amount, $3 million ish. Can make a big blockbuster deal where we move Koskinen for Fleury and then Kassian for Kubalik, and then obviously we would have to throw in probably a prospect and a first round pick to make that done, but something I'd be willing to do. But sounds like Ken Holland isn't overly eager to move his first round pick. But when you get a guy like Kubalik that has had times in his career where he's been a lethal scoring threat, might be a good fit. So we'll see how it shakes out. But for the love of God, if Ken Holland doesn't do anything to at least entertain trying to get a new goalie, I'm gonna fucking pull my hair out.
Here's the thing: you mentioned the Giroux thing. I think everyone can recall what Tampa did last year for the moves that they did. They had a 3-way trade, and a team. Columbus would traded Savard, I believe, to Detroit, if I remember correctly. Then they ate up a certain amount of Columbus ate up $1 million of cap. I'd have to look back, but Columbus ate up a little bit of the cap. Then Detroit ate up the remaining 50% of that cap, and then traded them over to Tampa to make things crunch for the year. Not that it mattered because the playoffs, it didn't matter. But what they did, they brought in a 3-way trade to make it work. That's how Giroux will go to Colorado, and the team that will be the middle team will be Arizona. If you look down, Arizona's cap space as a trade bait on the fucking board for different outlets, for different media companies. So you have Giroux. That's how they're going to make that work. So that was my comment about Giroux. But my one underhorse trade that I'll say, yes, Toronto's linked to forwards. They're linked to JT Miller. They're linked to Klingberg, Giordano, Miller.
Did you call this an underhorse trade?
I said did I say underhorse trade? That's great. I love saying words that I just make up. But Toronto could be on the scope for a lot of trades. Okay. And I'm not going to say Toronto or Edmonton based, but the only dark horse Toronto trade that I will say right now is I have my eye on Braden Holtby if they move Mrazek. That's all I'm going to say. $2 million cap. There's a guy that has 32 games, 2.78 goals against average, a 912 save percentage. You move out Mrazek to free up cap space for next year, and what you can maybe get in a player or re-sign a player, and Holtby would be a good option to play with Campbell over Mrazek would be. So that's my Leafs dark horse trade. Like I said, Klingberg, Giordano, Miller, Max Domi, and JT Miller are the 5 that are out for Toronto, even Ben Chiarot from Montreal. But the one trade that I think is going to happen, okay, and I'm going to say this one, number 12 on the board, Phil Kessel. I know we talked about Phil Kessel. They'd have to make this work a little bit, but Phil Kessel to the New York Rangers. I feel like
that'd be cool.
I think that would be a fit for Kessel. They have some room in cap. They can make things work. There's a team that has Igor in net. They have good young guys. They got good D guys. They just need that extra piece. I think they can score a goal, even though they have players that can score goals, but they've been linked to JT Miller. So they're looking for that help, but salary cap might be an issue down the road for the Rangers because they got to re-sign some players. and they have some contracts kicking in. So I think that 1 year left on Kessel's deal that's this year. He doesn't have a year next year. He's a UFA this summer. He has an $8 million cap, but you eat up that 50% already gone by the deadline. So he only has $4 million. If you go to Arizona and use up the rest of that half of the value and you bring him in at $2 million, you've now brought in a guy who's been a playoff juggernaut for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And again, Pittsburgh's a team you might be playing in the playoffs if you're the Rangers, and you're going to be a lower seed team, but anything can happen in the playoffs, especially if the Rangers cross over and play the winner of the Atlantic. If it's Florida or Tampa, they're going to be in trouble. But if you play Toronto, if they finish first in the division, anything can happen. Okay, Toronto might choke. So the Rangers can see a chance for a window if they bring in a guy like Phil Kessel, and I think he'd be a good top 6 guy that would really, really give them an extra chance to make a little push at the playoffs better than people expect them to do. And there's a lot more players that we can get to. And Dane, you brought the nail right on the coffin there with the Oilers' biggest problem at goaltending, right? And that's where I feel Georgiev is going to have interest, but you're going to have to pay a premium for that. So maybe they do go look at a particular rental, and maybe that's where you do veer at Fleury, even Holtby, like I mentioned, or if you're going to even go look at Korpisalo. But Korpisalo's had a shit year for Columbus, but he's also been a guy who's been really good in the playoffs. If you want to look back at the bubble and what he did against Toronto there, and he's kind of his stay is no longer welcome in Columbus, given Elvis Merzinglis playing as the number 1 guy there. So that's what I wanted to bring up about the trade deadline. A lot of key points, a very exciting deadline. Like I said, guys with term will be traded before the deadline. I feel the ones that do not have term, the players and teams are going to wait until that they get moved. My wish list, though, that I will say for Toronto is Klingberg to Toronto. If I'm speaking out my Leaf hat on here, my wish list is Klingberg to Toronto, and I would like to see Max Domi, and I wouldn't mind the Holtby deal if they move Mrazek. I would love Colin Miller there, but if they want these other players, it's not going to work. I would always been a fan of Max Domi. First, I think it's because of his dad. I just think he'd be a good fit in Toronto to kind of even out. He can fit in that second line even to an extent, and maybe give a little bit of ease on that third line center position right now where David Kampf is. He is good, Kampf, but I think he's more of a fourth line player. So that would be my wish list for Toronto. Klingberg, Domi, and potentially another goalie if you can move up Mrazek and bring in someone like Holtby. But I don't know if you guys had any other topics you want to bring up there. I did want to get into the outdoor games, but we can maybe table that for another one. And I also wanted to get into the body contact, so we can even table that one for another one. But I'm going to give you guys the option between the outdoor games, just effective outdoor games, or body contact in hockey. What topic do you want to go into? Alex, I'll let you make the choice.
Into body contact or the stadium series?
Yeah, outdoor games in general. Talking about outdoor games in general and the effect on the season for it.
I don't know. They're a gimmick that's worked for the NHL, and I don't think they've really hit on a lot of them. So if they work, run with them. They're pretty, they're okay. But if the Leafs aren't in it, they aren't today, I believe the stadium series is today, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't give a shit. But that's cool for the local market, and then it's an excuse to get lots of people outside watching the game. I'm for them, but if my team's not in them, I don't really care about them. I feel like that's fair though.
You know what? I think they're bad at it's not really a home game, but it is. If you look at the big house between Detroit and Toronto, that was one of the most watched games. But a lot of Toronto fans went there, but a lot of Leaf fans go to every game. Okay, that's the big thing about Toronto and Canadian teams in general. Their reach around the world of hockey is massive, but it does take away from that home ice advantage to an extent. And they're doing too much of these games. It was cool the first few years. I feel like they should take a break and just not do them at all. But Dane, what do you want to bring in? Do you want to talk about the outdoor?
I disagree. You know how much money the NHL's been making on these outdoor games? 80,000 people every time those stadiums are packed. I think it's also fun for the NHL players to play a game outside, every couple seasons. Mind you, I mean, I don't check out every stadium series game or outdoor game. If I happen to be watching TV and I see it on, I'll probably tune in for a bit. I would like to see, maybe some more outdoor games in Canada where it's actually cold outside and they can maintain the ice a little bit better. I don't even know when the last time they played in Canada for one of these games was. I might be missing one. Did they play at BMO Field one year with the Leafs? Or did they just play in the big house in Michigan?
The only ones in that are really.
Well, the Leafs were in the second Winter Classic. They had the white jerseys with the blue stripes.
Did they play at BMO?
But here's the thing, though. No, they play.
No idea.
The Heritage Classic is the one that's the Canadian one, and that's the Leafs and Sabres this year, actually.
Yeah.
The 13th. The Heritage Classic, it's the outdoor games. Most of these stadium series or these that New Year's event, it was always every New Year's Day, right? Was kind of the
Where's the game?
It's at where Hamilton Tiger Cats play.
Oh, it's at that stadium. Okay.
Tim Hortons, Phil?
Thank you. Tim Hortons. Thank you very much.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's at Tim Hortons.
Smart guy.
So like the Canadian ones, Dane, are Heritage. So that's kind of how they differentiate it a little bit. But a lot of these stadium series ones, not saying that Canadian teams can't be a part of it, but you mostly see the California teams that they had recently. They have Nashville, Tampa Bay, etc. Right?
Well, I maybe I'm just a little cheesed. I wouldn't mind if Edmonton could play in one every once in a while. It's literally been since the first outdoor game that counted as a regular season game is the last time Edmonton's been in one, and when they played in Edmonton against Montreal with Jose Theodore was in that with the toque on his head. Like 2000, like 2007, 2006.
Yeah,
a long time ago. Like it's a very long time ago. So it would be nice to see Edmonton kind of get back in the game and just see more Heritage Classics. So it seems like the majority of the games are always in the States right now, and why not do it in Canada?
I just want to know why the hell they gave the outdoor game to the Sabres on the other end of the Leafs game. Who gives a shit? Who are you advertising on the billboard for the Sabres to go and watch?
Colin Miller.
Dave.
Let's give the boys some love.
Dave. I'm okay. On the other side, coming in, Matthews and Marner taking on Colin Miller and the Buffalo Sabres. Just it's not the same. Colin Miller is a great guy. I know, but you're not branding a team around Colin Miller.
Rasmus Dahlin.
Well, it doesn't matter. Buffalo has a pretty diehard fan base. I mean,
I need
Alex Tuck.
But
that team, when they get in the playoffs, and this has been said too, it's a fucking madhouse. I've watched a conference final in Toronto. Yes, that's a thing, against the Buffalo Sabres. Okay, when Buffalo moved on to the Cup Finals to play Dallas, you know who they played in the conference final that year? Take a look. It's Toronto. It was Toronto. Sergei Berezin, Dmitry Yushkevich, the fucking boys that were in Toronto at the time. Matt Sundin and fucking Jonas Hoagland, I believe, was there at that time. But again, that fan base in Buffalo, Toronto, every time Toronto played Buffalo in the 90s and the thousands, it sucked if they went to Buffalo to play. The fan base was loud. They lost all the time because it was a hard place to play. And yes, there was more Buffalo fans than Leaf fans there before. Now it's all Toronto fans in Buffalo because Buffalo is 16, 29, and 8 for fuck's sakes. They've been shitty for the last decade. Okay. And that's why that they're on the cusp of being Florida, Arizona type level. Actually, Florida is one of the best teams in the league. So I should probably take that back, and their attendances went up. But I think they actually are the best team in the league points wise. But anyways, Buffalo has been a joke the past handful plus of years. But when they get into the playoffs one day, whenever that may be, I might be 55 and old and gray, but that fan base will be insane. You just watch. And people, I hope, refer to this show at February 26, 2022, when Dave mentioned how passionate that fan base is in Dane. Because yes, there's no one to really go, but there's a fan base that's real die hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got a couple interesting prospects. I mean, Rasmus Dahlins actually, turned out into a pretty good defenseman. Also an all-star this year. Dylan Cohen.
Yeah, okay. Well, Nick Suzuki was an all-star this year.
Well, Nashville's in back-to-back stadium series, and nobody gives a shit about Nashville either. You don't have to have
exactly. That's my point. Why are we putting these garbage teams in the outdoor games?
Because they still sell tickets, Alex.
Yeah, Rasmus Dahlin minus 36 last year. Yeah. Go advertise that guy.
They need to try to get money for these other teams too. That's the other side. And hopefully you bring in Toronto, that is one of the most profitable fan bases in all the world in hockey. That you bring in a team like Buffalo that's trying to regenerate their fan base. That's why they would do it. Plus they're divisional rivals, right? So that's why. And people didn't
regenerate.
Is that not a re-energize? I can't talk today, man. Is that my 5th fucking air today? And that's my 10th swear.
I don't know who's counting.
It's okay. It's Saturday. I guess I should have had that beer instead of coffee. Instead of having
Under the horse.
That's probably the way. You should probably write these down for quotes because someone's speaking at my stag and doe, and that's you, Alex, for prizes. So you better maybe know.
Yeah. What's the under the horse prize?
You want to make it under the horse prize? That'd be hilarious.
That might be something different.
We'll put a horse and we'll put something under the horse. Actually, we'll make it we'll call it the under the horse prize, and no one will get the pun. But
no one will understand it.
That's fine. Out of everyone who tunes into the show, if I get a reaction a year from now at my stag and doe, I will shake their hand if they remember me actually saying under the horse. But I won't get into the body contact side today. We already kind of overstayed our time limit, which is okay because obviously with video and stuff, it'll be a bit more time. We're on the audio side, so it's a bit more freeing with that. We're going to talk body contact in a future show, and I'm going to hopefully remember that for future shows to get into detail. But they introduced body contact above 13 years old. It's now when you enter formally for a lot of our age group, myself and Dane and even Alex would know the midget level. It's not called midget anymore. That's not the proper way to say it. I'm going to tell you flat out, it isn't the proper way to say it. It's the under 17s, under 16s. It depends on different areas that you're in. Under 15s, it depends on what league and region that you're in. So it's no longer that, so everybody knows. But that's when body contact is introduced. Okay, that is where it is introduced now. It's not introduced at novice. It's not introduced at Adam. It's introduced at a later age. And there was somebody that told me, and I'm only going to give a teaser with this because it's a elongated topic, that somebody told me who's a coach here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, that's coaching in that under 15 level. And they're starting to do body contact, like segue into it. And they've never done a body contact drill in their life, these hockey players. And in a game, there was 4 penalties in a matter of 3 different shifts because somebody got bumped off the puck and there was body contact. They're limiting the body contact. No, it's not because of COVID either. That's been kind of weighed over to the wayside. It's because of the body contact rule. And you got players now that are not alerted to an older age, which when they get older and they're a bit more in their size, they're not going to hit properly and it's going to cause more injuries. I really dislike how they've taken out body contact at a very young age, but we'll table that for another time. I want to give teaser to listeners and also to you two to be prepared for that topic. So I want to get into it in more detail to say how much of a joke it is now in terms of the body contact. They're trying to save the game in terms of injuries. I think they're making it worse by incorporating body contact at a later age. So now you got kids that are playing hockey or joining football at a young age so they can learn body contact before they get into the respective age to learn it in hockey. Fun fact, there's somebody that I know as a child that plays hockey, is about to enter the bantam level. I'm going to go to that term so everyone remembers. That's the under 15 area that now they put him in football for when he was younger so he can try to learn how to properly hit and use his shoulder because hockey doesn't teach it. Can't believe it. Unbelievable. But we'll dive into that at a future show. Fellas, it's been fun. We, like I said, overstayed our time or welcome, as I say. I can't talk. I got to start signing off. Parr, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to come on, and hopefully we can dabble into some Chell. I know me and Dane were saying last night after our loss in EASHL that I said we want to take a couple week break. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'll see you guys on tonight. I'll be on all night. Whenever you guys are good, I'll be there. That's
awesome. But thanks for taking the time, Alex. It was good talking. And thanks for putting up with me off air with all this nonsense with the video and what computer that the game is going to have to.
Everything's forgiven. You said under the horse. That made my day. So all's forgiven.
I can't talk. You know what? And people, I hope, miss that. I hope they don't hear me say it all the time. You have a good ear. Dane, my friend, I will see you tonight. I was planning to upload this a little earlier and sharing it, but I released some information on this show that's, friends do listen to the show, obviously. And if they hear that there is a surprise party happening tonight, it won't be too much of a surprise. So this won't be uploaded till later, but it's fun doing these morning shows with you and connecting with you in general.
Yeah, I'll see you tonight there, Dave. So yeah, that's all I got, buddy.
Where are we going, Dane? That's remind listeners.
Northern Superior, best beer in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah, sponsor of the Game Sports Show and proud partner with the Game Entertainment Media. And we have a cash giveaway and a giveaway coming up. Dane or Alex, you remember what that giveaway is?
100 bones.
100 bones for what?
I don't know. You tell me.
I love it. Cash, $100 from the Game Entertainment and Media, and $100 to the tap room at Northern Superior.
Oh, damn. Okay.
$200 total prize. Details will be released on all social media platforms through our 1400 live radio station. It's on our live radio station, I'd say, but our live radio show. All the details will be released. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. Share it out. And if you want a chance to get $200 free, the details will be very carefully and well listed for you to follow. There will be no confusion. You just follow the rules and you can get your name entered. The prize will be put in place this week, and the winner will be announced on Friday, March the 4th. So you have a whole week to get your name into this draw. So yes, that means more people are going to get involved, but it's all good. It's $200 free. And Dane can attest to this. $50 isn't enough to spend at a place like the Tavern North Superior, not because it's expensive. It's very affordable. But if you take yourself out there and you're having a beer yourself, yeah, $50 is enough. But you start taking your significant other, or you start taking some friends and you're buying the dinner. As soon as you start buying and you buy some more food and you support the local restaurants as you should here from their menu, it starts to add up. So we want to make sure that when you do go out, it's a free night out on us. Okay. With having that $100 on top. So you can go crazy. You can spend $200 at Northern Superior and just have a time like we do when we play ESHL, can absolutely smash some nights at our LAN party, which is.
I was going to say, I think you'd have more fun at Northern Superior than you would be going, fuck this game. Are you kidding me?
Fuck this game. It's fixed. It's fucking fixed. As Dane would say, yeah, okay. I think that's Dane's favorite one. I could be wrong. Alex can correct me. Alex laughs if someone does something that shouldn't happen in the game. He goes, huh, okay. And me, Alex just did what I do. Fuck this game. This game's fucking fixed. Throw a controller.
No, my favorite's when you used to smash the controller on the couch and you would just hear. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I still throw tantrums. Again, thank you, Dane. Alex, thank you to the listeners. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. We got shows coming up this week. The 1400 edition show will be on Monday. We do plan to do hopefully another top shelf show within the next 10 days. So keep an eye out on that. There'll be a special edition upload we plan this week. Drew McIntyre will be the upload this week. And then the next one after that will be James Duthie, just so everybody knows. So a couple absolute studs of shows coming up, as we already had two recent ones with Theo and Marcel Dion and Pete Mahavlich. Make sure you check that on the TGEM network, and also check out the Game Sports Show on Podbean for all the additional shows, and the GameSportsShow.com. And the reason I mentioned the Podbean show is because we have local content on there from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, for games like Eagles games and high school games. If you want to catch up on a game that maybe your family member played in that you couldn't go watch, it's on there. We're everywhere on all the platforms. To search the Game Sports Show, and you will get located to where you need to and want to hear podcasts and content.
Now, Dave, I've got a bunch of sports to play. What do I do?
Good question. What do you do? I'll do the same thing that you asked me.
Damn, I don't know. I'm gonna keep my stick on the ice. I'm gonna shoot my threes. I'm gonna catch the ball and then use the stick and do the thing with it. Booyah!
Don't know it. Dane, do you know the ending?
Yeah, Alex just said
it. So close. So close. But I will say it nice and slow. I would like to remind you to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.